Yes, good morning, everyone. And I won't bore you, but what I did was I copied last year's speech because things are still the same. So I'm not going to bore you reading the whole thing, but we know I was the sponsor of that original legislation back in 1986. That was like my first couple of years in the House, and that was one of the first bills that I ever got passed. And you don't know how frustrating it is for me to be, all this time has elapsed and still, to me, very little progress has been made. And I'll say this, I mean, I could go through that we need a lawsuit like they've done in other states. And it's time for it because what do we have to lose? We're not getting anything anyway. That's how I was raised. What do we have to lose when you're fighting against systemic racism? And so I'll say this, I was going to reread the speech, but why rehash it? Because we all know the story. We talked about it long enough. At least it reminded me 1986. So we need to continue to build the coalitions, more than focusing on the problems that the disparity reveals. We need to advocate and work on solutions, because right now we get caught too into the problem. We know what the problem is. Yeah. Now get the coalitions together and work on the solutions. And part of it really is voter education, because really I'm tired of people walking into the black and brown community around election time and saying, I'm a Democrat, and then they shake our hands. Well, our loyalty and their commitment, we have to close the gap, because we have not gotten the commitment that, for our loyalty, we have not gotten the commitment that we deserve. So I know when I was in office, for 30 years, 15 elections, I know that every time I got I had to fill out numerous surveys from every group across the state. Where do you stand on this issue? Yes, no. A lot of them was yes, no, or undecided. We need to put through, and I'm going to ask Jim to follow through, because we talked about it years ago. We need to have a report card on economic development. These are the top 4 points that we want. And education, healthcare, housing, whatever the key issues are for our community, we need to send out a survey to the candidates from the federal delegation, the congressional delegation, certainly the general offices and key local areas in the urban core. We need to put out a survey. Where do you stand on the 10% set-aside law? Where do you stand on making sure that the subcontractors get paid on time? And all these different things. So that's really what we need to do. And then, in a lot of things, especially like in the churches, they can't really endorse a candidate. But one thing we can do is we can put out a survey of how people responded to our survey. And then you put that on social media, you put that into the media, and then you find out where people's commitment are. Because either they're going to support us or they're not. But why do we keep supporting people that really haven't delivered from us? So basically, we need to wake up. We can no longer afford to support those who ignore our causes. They get the bag of gold. As someone told me years ago, and I believe it was former Councilman Thomas F. O'Connor Jr., he said, Harold, when you get in that State House, be careful, because they get the bag of gold and we get the bag of pennies. It's time to change the system. Thank you very much.
You're here. You're here.